Hi, and welcome to the Introduction to Public Service Communication Events. I'm Jim N4BFR, one of the instructors at Ham Radio Prep and an Atlanta Aries member.
Hi, this is James KN4NEH from Ham Radio Prep.
Hi, my name is Elliott. I've been a ham radio operator for over 15 years and one of the liaisons to the Atlanta Track Club for their many events that they hold within the Atlanta metro area.
Being an effective amateur radio volunteer is much more than just technical knowledge of how to operate radio. Remember that the goal is to provide effective communications, which requires teamwork and coordination in addition to technical radio knowledge. In this video, we'll cover what you need to know to prepare to be an effective volunteer for a public service communications event.
We'll cover these four main topics: how to prepare before you go, what to expect and when to arrive, how to handle radio usage, making sure we all operate safely.
Before that, let's talk a little bit about your role. You're coming on not just as someone who is licensed to use a radio, but a communicator. That means as the event is going on, you'll be sharing information two ways. Number one, keeping the net and leadership aware of the situation at your location, and number two, giving your partner situational awareness of the rest of the event.
Your event leadership will prep you with details about what type of information you need to share and when, as well as the appropriate means of communications. In addition to operating ham radio, you'll need to interface with other organizations, possibly using their modes of communications at times.
Here's a practical example of understanding your role at an Atlanta Track Club event. Let's say you're at a water stop later in the course, and your liaison is the leader of the volunteers at that stop. You hear traffic talk about how earlier stops are running out of cups quickly. That's good information to share with your partner running the location. You probably also want to let them know when lead runners are getting close. This will vary on your location assignment. If you're in a medical tent, they probably don't need to know about any parking problems at a water stop, but they might like to know about the cup supply problem because that could have downstream medical impacts. That's where being a communicator and not just an operator is important.
Keep in mind that you want to optimize your interactions. Understanding who you're working with on both ends of the radio helps. Use your best radio management skills too. A quiet net is a good thing. Don't talk on the net unless it's necessary. One more thing about communication: be sensitive to the people involved. For instance, if you need to summon help, using a bib number instead of a name is much better for privacy, even if you know the person. Putting out, "Mayor Fred Smith might have broken his leg," won't help Fred much and might bring unwanted attention to inhibit help arriving.
Getting prepared before the public service event is a great way to make sure the event goes perfectly. You'll feel very comfortable going into your event because you'll already know the most important information. Here are some examples of items you can review before a public service event. The schedule of the day, including start time, end time, and key events. A map of the event so you can easily get a feel for the geography you'll be communicating over and station locations. Assignments and responsibilities for different volunteers. A frequency list, which is great so you can pre-program your radio.
Your leadership team probably sent you a document outlining the plan of the day, along with a link to this video. For the frequency list, go ahead and program all of them in your radio, even if you're not expected to use them. Your event may have multiple nets for the volunteers. If you're assigned on a medical net, it's not unreasonable that you may need to pass traffic on the course net. Best to be prepared.
One of the things you might need to do while at the event is summon emergency medical services, also known as EMS. Your plan of the day should have that information, so ask for it before starting your shift. While it typically varies by event, here's one way EMS might be summoned. First, attempt to contact net control via your radio using the designated emergency traffic protocol. If you can't make contact or the radio is busy, then call net control by cell phone. Put that number in as a contact in your phone before you go. And if those don't work, call 911.
Another event may request that you always call 911 first, then advise net control after the call. It all depends on how the event organizers have security EMS assets for the event. So make sure you are clear on how to handle your specific event. That's very important. One great way to make yourself more comfortable the day of the event is to practice making some of these high stress type communications at home in a low stress environment. Make some notes in advance so you can clearly communicate location and type of incident.
As a ham radio volunteer, you are working as a communicator in a network of other teams. In the case of an incident, you have to consider that it's very likely someone is calling 911, and the police may get the call through their cell networks.
Even though there may be a 911 call, if you do not see EMS or other public safety personnel on scene yet, you should still radio to net control about the situation. Generally, once a team member is on site, they will handle communications through their channels. Redundancy between all the different communication channels is something your net control team is trained to deal with and manage.
Another way to prepare is to review the plan for the day. When looking at the plan of the day, don't just focus on your assignment. Know the others as well. Let's say you are one of 3 stations who are runner assistance vehicles. Knowing that means that you'll need to listen carefully because every call won't be for you. You may even have a region you are supporting, or maybe you'll be asked to relay communications for a nearby station. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes you might be reassigned at the last minute. Having a feel for the whole event will help you quickly transition.
Consider all the elements of your operating environment for the event. On a bike race, you might be stationed in a hilly area where communications might not reach a repeater.
So here's an example of that. I'm here in downtown Atlanta where they hold the Peachtree Road Race. This is where Water Stop 5 will be. And they use a repeater that's actually located over the hill here. So as I'm trying to keep in contact, I need to be sensitive to the fact my signal's gonna bounce off these buildings and potentially interfere when I need to get into the repeater.
If you really want to plan ahead, look at a terrain map of the area you'll be in, or give it a quick scout with the Google Maps Street View. If you have time, take your HT out to the location before the event and try and hit the repeaters. Your event liaison, or shadow, might need to send a message to another post, and some may not have coverage. Know to pass that traffic to net control and they can help with the relays by radio or phone. Also, you'll be more than likely to be in a noisy environment at some point. Headsets or speaker mics may help you hear better when the environment is loud. You've pre-planned your radio programming and now you're going to communicate. Now what about personal pre-planning? While you might be told there will be food or snacks, plan to be self-sufficient. Rain might break out after a sunny morning. You might be asked to stay longer than planned due to an incident. That might mean having extra snacks and extra batteries for your radio. Having a family POC you can relay messages to if things come up might be a good plan as well.
Welcome to Event Day. Everyone's looking forward to a successful event. Here's how you can keep things running smoothly. First off, be on time to arrive at your station or the meetup point. Outside of it just being good manners, your arrival time was probably chosen to be before roads close or other things that might affect access to your station. Typically, radio operators are scheduled to be the first to arrive to any post so that communications exist during the entire operational period.
Once you are there, locate your liaison and have a discussion. Confirm expectations between you. You want them to know you are there to get event status information or instructions from event coordinators. Set expectations that while you are not there to provide medical assistance, you can summon help quickly. This is the two-way communication we talked about earlier. It's a good time to confirm the schedule as well. Next, get your radio gear going and check in with net control. While checking in and doing roll call, it's a good idea to move around. This will help you identify spots in your area where your communications are less reliable. Once you're set, tune your radio and lock the keypad. Also check if your headset is tightly connected. This reduces the chance of a going off frequency or causing a repeater to stick open.
Once you're connected with your liaison and the net, do an assessment. What would happen if a particular sketchy looking branch falls, if the power goes out, or if a storm rolls in? Have a mental response plan. Remember those notes you took about your location? Might not hurt to write them down on your hand. For example, let's say you're helping with Atlanta's Peachtree Road Race in the early part of the course. Jim's going to demonstrate different ways to refer to the same locations.
You can give your location in a number of different ways, and I've written mine down so I've got a reference. I could say I'm 4 blocks south of the start line. I could also say I'm near the corner of Peachtree and Tower Place. If I want to give them in GPS coordinates, I'm at 33.846 north and 84.368 west. Or I could just say I'm across from the train station.
Knowing where you are is only part of it. Consider if you have to direct EMS into your site. You may need to supplement directions like, the water stop is 50 feet off the road down the trail. Mentally practice how you will call for EMS help in advance. Putting this all together, it might sound something like this.
Net Control, Water Stop 7, we have a runner that needs assistance. Bib number is M8675309. They're breathing, but they can't walk. We're at the corner of Main Street and King Street. You need to walk about 20 meters into the park to find our location.
Nearly all the communications you will do in an event like this will be through net control. This is called having a directed net. The net control team manages the communication along the net. You will get a tactical call sign in your prep information to use in addition to your personal FCC issued call sign. You might use Start Line, Water Stop 3, or Race Control Shadow as some examples. To contact net control, wait for a quiet moment, then key up. Call net control and then tell them who is calling. Net control, this is Chase Vehicle 3. Wait for them to respond. If it's emergency traffic and there is a long delay in response, it's okay to call a second time and include that information. Net control, this is Water Stop 4 with emergency traffic. You can talk to other stations on the net during the event on a limited basis and with the permission of net control. For example,
Net Control, this is Start Line with traffic for race control. N4BFR.
Net control will or won't okay the connection, and you can send your message. You can clear the net with a simple back to net control when done. Unless you're on an extended communication due to an emergency, giving your call sign once at the end of a discussion is fine. Copy that, net control. This is finish line AA1RC. You can practice those in your head and practice keeping your message short and sweet. Net control, this is Med 3. Our 1030 census is 5 beds. Is just what they need to pass the information on. Net control, this is Medical 4. At 10:30, we had 3 beds in use. Wait, 2 people come in, but I think one of them needs help. One is leaving. Call it 4 beds in use now. You can see how that can be confusing and take up time that might be needed for emergency radio calls. A tip if you're shadowing someone like race control, bring a notepad. This way, if net control gets busy, you don't lose information before you get a chance to relay it.
Sometimes when you're working around and trying to get into a repeater with a big building behind you, you need to move around a little bit. So sometimes it's better to move 3 meters than it is 2 meters because that changes the frequency a little bit and gives you a clearer shot into the repeater.
While it's really handy to have your radio on your belt, that means your body could be between you and the repeater. Another situational awareness issue to consider.
Safety is always an important consideration at an event. You're not only there to help enhance the safety of others, keeping yourself safe and ready to operate is important as well. First, bring and wear safety gear. This will make you visible to traffic and others. It will also be helpful if someone like your liaison needs to spot you quickly to send emergency traffic. Remember, it's a safety aid, not safety prevention, so treat it that way. Some of these are road races, which means while it seemed like roads are closed, that's a fluid state of affairs. In addition to runners, there might be EMS bikes, wheelchair participants, and course vehicles on the road. Face oncoming traffic when possible, and expect the unexpected because sometimes cars go off the road. A couple of other things we've learned to watch out for. Always be careful if you have to deal with sharp objects, so that's a given. In parks and along sidewalks, you might encounter critters like ants or poisonous plants. You may even spot some weak tree branches, so give a 360-degree view of your surroundings, including looking up while you're setting up. Finally, take care of yourself. Stay hydrated. Pack some snacks to keep you going. Bring sunscreen and maybe rain gear in case things change. Remember, while you might have a shift, we've experienced runovers due to incidents or weather, so be prepared.
So, we've covered the very basics of how to prepare before you go, what to expect when you arrive, how we handle radio usage, and making sure we all operate safely.
We encourage you to take some time and learn more about all these areas before event day, and have fun getting your radio set up and putting your gear together.
If you have any questions, please get in touch with your contact for more information. If not, we'll see you on the morning of event day. 73.